this week, the 46th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee will deliberate on whether two Western Cape sites achieve World Heritage status. Now, following years of rigorous stakeholder engagement, quality assurance, and of course, international evaluation, South Africa has put forward 3 nominations by way of the Diepkloof Rock Shelter, that's close to Elands Bay in the Western Cape, the Pinnacle Point Site Complex in Mossel Bay, also in the Western Cape, as well as Sibhudu Cave in KwaDukuza in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, successful nominations will be protected under the World Heritage Convention and inscribed on the World Heritage List. So to tell us more about these latest developments, we joined virtually now by the Western Cape Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sport, Ricardo Mackenzie, who's of course currently in New Delhi in India for this session. Ricardo, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning your time, good afternoon my time, and thank you for having me this afternoon.
So let's start by just taking a look at what's been happening at this particular committee's work this week, and of course how the South African delegation has fared.
Thank you very much, Sakina. And there's currently 150 countries in session with nearly 2,000 delegates from around the world. I'm joined by Dr. Sifunda, the head of department from KwaZulu-Natal, and Dr. Dlamuka, the CEO of AMAFA, as we have submitted the nomination for a World Heritage Site confirmation by the World Heritage Committee, which is the 2 sites and the 3rd sites in KwaZulu-Natal. As you indicated, we're very excited. We've been working hard the last 3 days, meeting with various countries, a representative, our High Commission, in obviously lobbying for the world to confirm that this is indeed a World Heritage Site for South Africa. And more importantly, this is the origins of human behavior in South Africa.
So talk to us about provinces in South Africa, Ricardo. So the 3 that we mentioned are, of course, in the Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. But what is that process like of submitting nominations, and how do you get behind, recognizing and giving support for these recognized sites?
Thank you very much. The process is a rigorous process spanning several years, and I really need to thank our government officials who've been working extremely hard over many years doing research on these 3 sites in South Africa and working with experts, archaeologists in their field, and confirming and submitting this obviously via our National Department of Foreign Affairs to the World Heritage Committee. And the world is now looking at us, and they visited these sites. Archaeologists from around the world have spent time in KwaZulu-Natal, in the Western Cape, visited these sites and confirmed what our experts are saying, that these sites are worthy of worldwide protection. That this is indeed where the origins of human behavior started, in KwaZulu-Natal and at these 2 sites in the Western Cape.
So let's talk about those sites, Ricardo, and of course, what makes them unique? Why were these sites chosen as opposed to people would probably think others that may also be worthy?
What makes them unique, as you know, human behavior started hundreds, if thousands of years ago. But what makes them unique is for 162,000 years, in these 3 sites, based on research, expert studies, it is confirmed that this is where the cognitive ability of the human being started. In simple terms, this is where we started to think. Because in these sites, there are inscriptions, there is evidence that this is where artwork, inscriptions on something like ostrich eggs was done on walls in these sites. So these are indeed confirmed by experts, and based on what the world will decide on this weekend coming, that this is the origins of where human cognitive ability has started. And as South Africans, we should be proud of this is where it all started for the human race.
So if the status were to be granted, what impact will that have on these sites being recognized as World Heritage sites? What would that status bring for South Africa and South African tourism by extension?
Well, the first thing, on a funny side, we can tell everyone, welcome home. This is where you started to think. But on a more serious note, a World Heritage status will bring obviously World Heritage protection. It will certainly drive tourism to these sites. Experts, archaeologists, and academics from around the world will want to visit these sites and study the origin of human behavior further. It gives us access to the African World Heritage Fund and to World Heritage Funds around the world, which, as you know, stands at billions. So there's massive job enablement opportunities coming for those sites, museums and communities living in and around those sites. And as South Africans, we should certainly visit those sites because the world is going to come and visit those sites. So this is an opportunity for people around their sites, development opportunities, job creation opportunities, conservation and reservation of those sites and the community around those sites. And obviously, once the world has confirmed what we know, we will see many, many more people wanting to visit those sites from around the world.
Now, Ricardo, just picking up on that welcome home, you know, we look at some of the sites that we already have. We look at the cradle of humankind and, you know, we think of Homo naledi and all of these things. Is South Africa perhaps, you know, thinking about having a sort of heritage tour? One could imagine looking at all of these sites and taking people on a tour of the various provinces and the sites located in each.
That is exactly what we started doing. It's called the Cradle of Human Culture. And what we will continue to do, I'm very privileged that my colleagues from KwaZulu-Natal is with me on this trip. And our conversations is exactly that. We need to bring the world home. And we need to bring the world home where the world started to think and started to behave, if you want to call it that way. And this is what we're discussing, and we'll certainly will be doing that over the next few years. Next few days, we'll continue with those discussions. And when we come back home, that's why this is a South Africa nomination. Although these two sites is in the Western Cape, one is in KwaZulu-Natal, it's a South African nomination for us in South Africa, and we should certainly, and we will create a cultural tour for anyone who wanting to come home to South Africa.
Now, Ricardo, the deliberations run from the 21st until the 31st of July there in New Delhi. When will we know, you know, whether or not those sites have been successful?
We will know by Saturday, Sunday for the latest, once the voting and the inscription, as they call it, is a technical term, has been confirmed. But I can tell you the work done by our government officials, the lobbying, if I can put it that way, the research done by our colleagues from the Western Cape, our colleagues from KwaZulu-Natal, our High Commissioner here, in the Acting High Commissioner, has been incredible. Literally from walking the floor early in the morning, meeting with delegations day and night, it has been incredible. And the positivity from delegates and from experts, more importantly, from experts in the field of archaeology has been absolutely incredibly supportive. So we have to say thank you. Our colleagues from the Western Cape, our colleagues from KwaZulu-Natal, has been really been professionalism, par excellence. The nomination submitted by the world has been, by South Africa to the world, has already been recognized as of the highest standard, and it just requires the 150 members and the committee over the next few days to confirm what we all know.
And just by the way, seeing that you are there with delegates from across the world, looking at South Africa just as a tourism destination overall, what sort of sense are you getting at this conference?
The sense I'm getting, Christina, you know, if I'm back home, sometimes all of us, and me included, can be extremely pessimistic if we're back home. But once you're out of the country, the mood of the world to South Africa is extremely positive. The mood here, speaking to since Sunday, I can tell you, we've been meeting from our own African country, South Sudan, to people from around the world, Belgium, people from India that we've met. We've met the minister yesterday. We've met this morning from the Film Commission of India. We met UNESCO head office yesterday. The mood has been extremely positive. We should be extremely proud of brand South Africa. From 150 delegates from around the world, different ambassadors, my counterparts, my peers, ministers, deputy ministers. It has been extremely, extremely positive.
Well, that's good to know, and a good positive note on which to leave it as well. Well, Good luck to you. Good luck to us as a country. And we're holding thumbs and waiting to hear the outcome. Thank you so much, Western Cape Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sports, Ricardo Mackenzie, speaking to us about the 46th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee. They are deliberating on whether 2 Western Cape sites and 1 from KwaZulu-Natal should achieve World Heritage status. So we'll let you know here on SABC News once an outcome has been reached there. So these are the sort of lovely conversations we like to have.
No, it's lovely. And it's important to emphasize, and I liked how he ended the interview saying, you know, sometimes when you're living in the situation, we keep on emphasizing the bad, but there's so much good happening. It really is. So I'm so happy about that.
And of course, how the rest of the world views us.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Absolutely incredible.